In this video, we are going to discuss how to configure your application through environment files. By default, the environments are not set up anymore. Angular 17, I think, is the last version that did that. Angular 18 and 19 no longer create the environment files. You have to manually create them. In this video, we'll go through the process. Environment files. As of Angular 18, it's no longer automatically added. They used to create an environment.ts and an environment.prd.ts. Now they don't create any. And that's because you need to manually create them. What are environment files and how do you use them? Well, think of an environment file as your application configuration. So in each environment, you'll have usually a dev, a SIT, which is system integration testing, or you may have a QA, which is quality assurance, and then you should have a perf or a stage. Perf and stage are basically the same. Perf would actually be for checking performance. And then you'd have production. Let's create the environment. The way now you do this is, let's go to the terminal here. And we're in the root of the application. I'm going to clear this. And now we're going to ng generate environments. So I'm at the root of the project. I'm going to generate the environments now. Now this does a couple things. It's going to update the Angular JSON, and it's going to create the environment files that are necessary. That was pretty quick. So it updated the Angular JSON. Let's go in here and see what updated. So we have file replacements for development. So development existed and production exists, but there's no environment file replacement. And then for default, it just says production there. But for your default file, let's see what the unversioned files are. So these need to be added in to GitHub. So here's development TS, and here's your default environment. Now notice that they both have export const environment. So no matter what environment you state here, it's going to have the same contents. Now, you want the same targets or the same labels in every environment file. They should be the same as long as you're using them and building with them. If you don't have it that way, you will have problems. All right, so I've started out by creating the contents. So production says false. Prefix, in this case, it's default, DEF. And over here, it's the same except it's DEV for development environment prefix. So we need to create a production environment. We saw, let's go look here. Here's your configurations. So we have everything but file replacement. And we don't have anything for the default. I'll explain that in just a moment. So let's create the, so first of all, there's no automated way that I'm aware of to create the production. I've tried the, there's options that you can give the command that I gave to create this, but those options, as far as I can tell, don't have a way to actually create the files. So I'm going to show you a manual way of doing it. You're going to copy, actually I'm going to copy the base one here. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go here at this folder and say paste, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to call it dot, you can call it prod or production. Some teams like to abbreviate everything, like development would just be dev, and production would just be prod, and system integration testing would just be SIT, quality assurance would just be QA, and perf would just be PER. Maybe an F on the end, just depends on how many letters you want to have. So I'm going to create the production one here, and I want to add that. And production, I'm going to make that true, and I want this the prod. The next thing I need to do is I need to go into Angular, the configurations. There should be only one configuration. Oh, there are two. Okay, so I don't have to do anything down here. This is production, and this is deployment or development. So for production, the only thing I need to add is this file replacement. Now, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go up to production. I'm going to put a comma at the end, and I'm going to insert that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this. So it's got to match this right here. So I've got to change that to production, and TS. Now this can be misleading. One of my coworkers who is extremely good at Angular, he was thinking that this actually replaced this file right here, and it doesn't. It does this in memory. Think of it as a replacement in memory. So it loads it into memory or wherever, and it just does a replacement. So everything in this file needs to match this file, because when you're doing your development, you're editing your source files, it's going against this. It's not going against these. So this replacement makes this production file look like the regular environment TS file. And that's one reason they need to have the same data, or the same, not data, but same tags, labels, whatever you want to call it. The data for that tag can be different. Now this is JSON. I know it's in a TS file, but it's regular JSON. So you can actually have regular JSON format in here, and it will work just fine. So we only had to replace the one. Let's go ahead and create an environment for stage. Let's create an environment for stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste, and I'm going to go in here, create stage, add that to GitHub. Now I'm going to go into Angular here. Now this one you got to be careful on, because production and development are in both configuration, but I just added stage. Up here is where you have your environment files, and stage, you want stage and production to look the same. I'll tell you why. One time I promoted an Angular modification, a change, into production, and stage did not catch the error because production had some things turned off because it was in production. So you want stage to mimic production exactly. You're going to have different data for testing in stage just to make sure that stage works. Different databases, but you want your environment for production and stage to be identical. So for that reason, I'm going to copy production here. I'm going to duplicate actually. So I duplicated it. So there's production, and I'm going to call this one stage. I want to match that. And here I want to change that to stage. Now, this is where it's a little different because stage is not down here. I need to create it. So I'm going to copy production. I duplicated it. I'm going to edit stage. It's important that you also edit this, because this is the build target. This is the name of the app. It's doing a build, and it's doing this for stage. It's building stage here. This is building production. This is building development. You don't have a build or anything for this because that's by default. You don't need to do anything there. And this is the serve. So you can see here where serve will actually build the environment that you're working on. And when we get to the next part of setting this up, it's going to be in the package JSON. You're going to see where we're going to pass this configuration, either production stage or development. All right, let's go ahead and create so I'm going to copy this again, and I'm going to go and I'm going to paste, and the environment I want is SIT for System Integration Testing. I will create that. And what I didn't do for stage, let me go in there real quick. I want to change that STG. And in here, I want SIT. So I have my prefixes. Now I'm going back to the Angular now. And I've got SIT I just added. So I'm going to copy stage here. It doesn't matter which one you copy because at this point this is the second configuration. Actually it might be the first configuration in the file. This is at line 111. So STG or SIT. So SIT, SIT, that's SIT. Let's go back to the next one. So here's production, here's stage, and here's development. Now for SIT, I want it to mimic development, not production. Now you may want it to mimic production. It's up to you and your team. But I'm going to, for simplicity, I'm just going to mimic development. I have to put a comma after that. And up here, I'm going to call this SIT. And I'm going to go down here and replace this SIT. That's got to match this right here. So now we have development, SIT, stage, and production all set up. We're not done yet. We still have, let's add QA just so that we have it. I'm going to do a copy. I'm going to do a paste. And I'm going to call this one QA. And I'm going to go in there. And I'm going to call that QA. You may call it QAT, you may call it QA, however you want to abbreviate it. So then I need to go into the Angular. Now QA, I'm going to make it very similar to sit. I'm going to copy this, dupe it actually. I'm going to rename this one as QA. And I got to change this to QA. It's got to match this right here. Now you notice the optimization and source map, they're true here, but they're not true for stage and production. Actually, they're not set, but there are budgets that are set. Budgets, you'll have to read about it, understand what that's about, and then the output hashing, all. So I try to make these the same. Now we're going to go down to the serve here in the configurations in this area. So we just added QA. Let's duplicate that. Change this to QA. I got to change this as well, QA. And so that matches. So the QA here, QA here, do the replace. So when you're doing the build, so here's the build, okay? That's what this is talking about, and it's doing the production. So demo app is this guy here, and then demo app build stage. This is the target, or the build target. Now there's one piece we haven't done yet. Let's go look at our NPM scripts. We only have build for the generic. We need a build for all of these environments we just set up. So what we are going to do now is we are going to, I'm going to close all these. I'm going to leave Angular JSON open. We're going to open package JSON right here. At the beginning of package JSON, you have scripts. And the one that we're concerned with is this one right here. I'm going to duplicate this line several times. The first one we're going to leave alone. And then this one we're going to say development. And we're going to say development. Now I'm giving a colon here. So I want to go to SIT, and then I want to go configuration SIT. Now I'm going to go QA. I love this AI. It does it for me. I need to dupe one more because I have stage in prod to do yet. There's stage. And there's production. Now if we go back and we look at our scripts here and we update it, we see all of these builds. So in your CI/CD process, if you're using Jenkins or if you're using Cloud Build, you want to have variables in each of those environments. So based on the environment, you're going to build the appropriate one. I hope this video has helped you. Please like and subscribe, and we will continue to make more videos. Thank you.